We also got the update on the unemployment front. Once again, more than 1.5 million Americans filing for unemployment insurance. That coming roughly in line with expectations, but again, still issues for concerns when we look at continuing claims. And for more on that trend, I want to get to Yahoo Finance's Heidi Chung, who has the details. Heidi?
Hey, Zack. Yeah, every week here on this show, we've been breaking down how COVID-19 has been impacting the state of employment here in the U.S. And it's not looking all that great, but things are starting to get better here, Zack. Weekly initial jobless claims have now decelerated for 10 consecutive weeks. Like you just mentioned, though, last week, an additional 1.54 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits. That was below estimates for 1.55 million jobless claims during the week. The prior week's figure, though, was revised higher to 1.9 million from the previously reported 1.88 million. And over the past 3 months, or 12 weeks, I should say, more than 44 million Americans have had to file for unemployment insurance. Continuing claims totaling 20.93 million in the week ending May 30th. That's a decrease from 21.27 million in the prior week, but the number still exceeded consensus estimates for 20 million continuing claims. Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program claims, also known as PUA, totaled roughly 705,000 on an unadjusted basis in the week ending June 6th. Now, that is down from the prior week's 797,000. Now, just a reminder here that PUA claims include those who were previously ineligible for unemployment insurance, such as those that are self-employed as well as contracted workers. Looking here at the states and what they reported last week, California reporting the highest number of jobless claims at an estimated 258,000 on an unadjusted basis, and that is up from 229,000 in the previous week. Georgia filing 136,000, down from 149,000, and Florida reporting 111,000. New York with roughly 94,000 jobless claims. Zack, we've been talking a lot about the different states and how they have been reporting claims over the past couple of months. California is still topping the list, and the increase that we saw last week might just be that the state is still working through those really big backlogs that they have had.
Yeah, and you talk about looking at it at a state-by-state level. You know that I like looking at maybe perhaps a shift in terms of trends that we've seen, looking at the latest 6-week average in terms of initial claims being filed versus the first 6 weeks of this pandemic, and pairing those across the state shows that Rhode Island, Montana, Vermont, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, interestingly, those two swing states there, showing what could be the largest startings of stopping the bleeding when we think about how many initial claims were first reported back there when this pandemic first hit and shutdowns really came into effect. Now seeing about a 75% turnaround between those first 6 weeks and the latest 6 weeks for those states there. So leading kind of the charge in terms of maybe thinking that the bleeding might be stopping there. Obviously, when you look at Michigan and Pennsylvania, that would be big news for President Trump in terms of swing states maybe stopping the bleeding. On the flip side, though, bad news when you look at Florida, another key swing state there, still not necessarily seeing the bleeding stop, as we only note about a 30% change between those first 6 weeks and latest 6 weeks. Of course, that state did kind of enact its shutdown a little bit later than some other states. But one thing that we like to keep our eyes on there, and even then, as we highlighted, there's so much ground to be made back here when you think about Michigan, still one of those states that's showing here in the top 5 in terms of maybe a turnaround starting, still has the third highest insured unemployment rate in the U.S. At about 22%. So just showing how much room there is to claw out of, even though it might be turning things around. But always interesting to look at it on a state level.